A scion of many worlds. To call the next 10 seconds hectic is to earn a mastery in understatement. The girl that dropped due to vaporized chains tackles the now one-armed interrogator, and a fight breaks out as Jasper steps up to try and knock her out as he did the other two. Unfortunately, they take that time to wake up and immediately jump on him, causing him to reflexively throw one of them as the other tries to savage his legs. Unfortunately, the man has armor on and is almost impervious to a lot of basic nonsense. There's yelling and screaming, the pulling of hair, and curses go fast and loose. But after one of the girls hits the wall and Jasper grabs the other to throw her upwards and into the ceiling, there's a moment of calm. Just in time for the body to hit the floor, and the cat fight, lacking only literal cats, kicks back up again. "All right, that's enough of that," Jasper says, reaching down and pulling both girls apart. "We need her alive if we're going to get questions answered." The furious midwife spits on the interrogator. "I said enough. I'm getting you girls out of here," and the girl he threw into the ceiling jumps on his back. "Little freaking monkey beast," he exclaims as he spikes the woman into the floor with a crunch. The room goes dead silent. "Didn't you want prisoners?" the standing midwife asks as she sees the blood spreading from the cracked skull. "Oops," Jasper remarks, reaching down and deciding it's time to experiment. "Bodies want to heal. That is the natural state of things. Axiom can reinforce it, accelerate it, and fuel it well and truly beyond what physics and biology states." He gingerly picks her up and closes the widening skull fracture. Axiom pours in and the wound starts to close. Bone knits together and flesh starts to seal. His antenna reaches down and he can feel the bruising, and tiny lacerations in the brain start to repair themselves at his direction. What? Why did you save me?" she asks after a moment. "Why indeed?" he asks, picking her up and standing her aside. She makes no further hostile action as he breaks the bindings on the midwife. "Is there any loss of memory? Any blanks or black spots in your mind?" No," she answers, completely off balance from what's happened. "I still don't understand." "There's a lot of that going around. For example, a lot of girls don't seem to understand why they're supposedly upset at the grand midwives." "Don't you dare tell her anything," the interrogator snarls. "Oh, by all means, be a stubborn fool. It's not like I've aptly demonstrated power over life and death to someone such as you." Jasper replies as he snips the final parts of the bonds, keeping the higher-ranked midwife tied down, and he helps her sit up. "By the way, it's him. I am a male. So that's me losing a bet." The higher-ranked midwife notes as she rubs her wrist and visibly contemplates kicking the disarmed interrogator. "Oh," Jasper asks as he rips chains out of the walls and then, when everyone's down, starts slowly destroying the manacles. "I thought you would be directly responsible for an enormous attack on the grand midwives, not indirectly." "Indirectly?" "The conquest of Miru and your massive open actions in the surrounding countries. This bitch gloated that you were a perfect distraction and our order couldn't send help in time." The higher-ranking midwife says, kicking the interrogator right in the stump and getting a brutal scream before her junior twists the woman's arm to prevent her from retaliating. "Let's not descend to their level, shall we? No torturing prisoners," Jasper asks gently. "What? But they're cretinous mad women in league with the so-called immortal empress," the higher-ranked midwife says, and gains Jasper's complete attention. "How do you know?" "It seems as if there are not but you girls and locals," Jasper asks, and the Foza woman taps the back of her neck. Curious, he steps around and glances at the back of the Aramenta woman's neck. She tries to flinch away, but he clearly sees the symbol of a serpent being impaled by a sword. So this immortal empress. So-called immortal empress. The irony of the empires of the Trine is that two oppose the central empire of the Serpent Queen, who is the only one that is self-sustaining and lives up to the reputation. The other two parasite off it, she says, and he opens his mouth and raises a claw to ask before waving it off. I do want to hear this, but that's for later. Right now we need to get you girls to safety, he says before crouching down to look the interrogator right in the eyes. Now, the tables are turned. You're going to be answering some questions about... He trails off as she spits on him. An eyebrow raises up as he wipes the phlegm off his face and then onto her own shirt. If you think that my distaste for torture means I can't pry secrets out of you, then you are deeply, deeply mistaken. I know how minds are put together. I don't need to torture you, I just need to directly touch your head meat with my antenna as I forcibly stimulate it in the direction of the information I need. What? I have a fairly good idea on how to access your brain directly. It's not torture, but it may very well be my cutting it out of you, Jasper says, grasping the sides of her head and laying his antenna on her forehead. Also, if you get the sensation of a deep violation that only the sweet darkness of death can wipe away, do not worry. That's very normal. Wait. You're supposed to ask questions first, the interrogator protests. But I can just tear the knowledge out of you, he answers as she tries to squirm away. I'll talk. Just don't do anything unnatural. She whimpers, and it's all Jasper can do not to roll his eyes. There's an upside and a downside to the massive inbreeding and poor education. Downside is they do stupid things. Upside is that they're pretty easy to scare and often don't know what really should be kept secret. Good, Madam Midwife, I'm able to teleport yourself and your girls back to the main temple in Bright Dawn. If you're willing? He asks, standing upright but not letting go of the woman. That depends. We're in the smuggler's tunnels, right? The midwife asks, and the former interrogator nods. Under what building? After a moment without any answers forthcoming, Jasper sighs and lowers his antenna again. I don't know. Oh, really? Jasper asks. She's telling the truth. She was one of the people that funded the riots. The girl that Jasper healed says quietly, And where do you stand? I live up above. This is my basement, she admits. Can you show us the way up, please? Cooperation gets rewards. What? The midwives asks. Honestly, how do you people get anything done just threatening people if they don't do what you want? You have to offer rewards too. Like what? Help us get to the temple and you'll be forgiven for your part in this. Explain things thoroughly and I will owe you a favor. Last time I fulfilled a favor, I helped someone nearly blind to see with perfect clarity and taught her how to do the same for her own family. But I can see just fine. It was an example of something I can do to help another, Jasper says plainly. Oh, you have some kind of special magic that lets you do miracles. That's how you found us. Knowledge. I have a lot of knowledge that can help others. I can teach that knowledge in turn. Does that make sense? Jasper asks, and she frowns at him. Compared to some warrior scholar, I may seem dim, but I'm not stupid. You're helping fuel a riot against the people that you need to continue your line. I've already continued my line. Also, before you showed up, I could have easily faked being innocent, and there was almost no risk on my part. I was also being paid a lot. I don't think I'm going to get the money now. Fair enough, Jasper says, slowly putting down the interrogator. What is the price for your complete cooperation? Miss Gilla, this has gone tits up. I want sanctuary for me and my daughters. Far from this. I have pull in Aridus Valley, Greenstone, and Miru. I can easily get you a home in any of those places. Jasper offers, and she looks up at him oddly. That easily? Why does everyone expect me to make things complicated? He asks in return after a moment. He sets down the disarmed interrogator to run a claw over his head. For fuck's sake, just show us the way up. We'll keep talking. Thankfully, that's all that needs to be said as things get moving. He passes out the laser cannons to the midwives and slings both prisoners over his shoulders. The fact that one is down a limb and the other is thoroughly concussed makes it an easy carry. They quickly introduce themselves. Lady Farland and her apprentices, Haley, Moira, Gina, and Finn. The way up is a large set of double doors and a wide staircase a room over. Awfully large staircase compared to the others, especially for a smuggler's tunnel. It wasn't always. The city's expanding. This used to be a dock at the edge of the city line. Then the city kept building and blocked it off. Gilla remarks with a sigh. Even the levels of things were built over. This basement used to be the first level. I was wondering why the basement had a basement dock below it, Jasper notes. Bright Dawn is one of the earliest settlements on Lacrin. Of course there's a lot that's been built over it, Gilla says, and Jasper raises an eyebrow at the uncommon calm in this girl. Did his healing her go wrong somehow? Shit, this could be really bad. She leads them up and then finds a chair to collapse into. Someone check on her. This place is relatively safe for now. Also make sure her children aren't hurt. Her healing seemed to have gone wrong, and having their mother suddenly made to act differently could spell out terrible things for her daughters. Don't. My daughters, Gilla whispers and Jasper sighs. I'll be back. Fortify and make sure no one gets hurt. You're not going to carry us out? I can only carry so many, and if I let these two go, then they might wake and try something, or find their courage and hurt someone, Jasper says, and there's a glance around. He passes out the second laser cannon he has, and there are some nods. I'll be back with others in a few minutes at most. Keep your heads down, he says as he heads for the front door. Do you really think that making an enemy of the Empire is wise? Which one was that again? Jasper asks, as he glances outside to see the streets empty. He will have to come back here even after the evacuation. The quiet place in the midst of the storm is really suspicious. He quickly launches into the sky and makes sure to go high to avoid people easily tracking him as he's too small against the darkness. Who are these people? You're supposed to be helping our sisters. One of the midwives immediately confronts him as he swoops in. Others still come and take them off his hands. Get them medical attention, but keep an eye on them. They're involved in the riots, likely from the ground up. He orders, and there's some nodding. The first midwife coughs pointedly into her fist. They were interrogating several midwives. The girls are safe for now, but Miss Armless there was the one holding the branding iron. I appear to have gotten there in time, barely. The other is badly concussed, and there's a third that I nearly killed by reflex. I tried healing her, but she seems addled. Addled, but cooperative. She claims to have daughters, and I'm not comfortable having children possible harmed. Good. Sidewinders, she calls out and then offers Jasper a smile. If you're being careful for the sake of children, then I can find little fault in you. The grand midwives are about preserving and creating life, especially the innocent. You called Elder Flo? A cloud Nagasha asks, slithering down through the air. Her human torso is well armored, and she has a sort of tail shawl on in a pattern similar to the midwives. Behind her, several more cloud Nagasha float down and slither up, 7 in total in a V formation. Take your squadron and follow the big guy here. He has several midwives and possible children and injured in need of evacuation. Elder Flo orders, and the Sidewinder captain nods. They're in a quiet part of the city, which just makes it more suspicious to me. Before we go, are you the Earthany we found in the crystal container? I am. You certainly know how to disappear. I was one of the trackers that night. Well, you certainly kept me moving. I needed to get some space and figure out what was going on. And being in the middle of someone's stronghold was the last place I wanted to be while confused and alone. Did you not have that insane Metak with you? I wasn't sure if she was a friend or foe yet, so I wanted room to run if things went wrong. Did they? Far from it, but we're wasting time. Let's go, Jasper orders before rushing out of the temple and taking off, 7 Nagasha slithering through thin air after him.